Hey, what is up, everybody? This is David Stephen Patterson, also known as DSP. This is Headhunters Live, number 59. And on the show, we have a really special guest, Rashin Keller. But before we introduce her, I do want to introduce my beautiful, super handsome co-hosts. Right over here, we have the best looking man in the business, Neil Lebovitz. Neil, how are you? 2 weeks in a row. There you go.
Switching it up.
And Chris, who was recently unseated by the dark horse Neil as best looking man of the biz. That would be Chris Wessel. What's up, Chris?
Sometimes when the first horse out of the gate, eventually the other ones catch up to him, and so I'm just.
Well, you've got the manly, rugged, young, good looks. I got the Sean Connery. I don't
know that would call me rugged. There's nothing rugged about me.
Really?
that guy is.
You're a little metro, right? A little, but you're
well. I think what Neil means, you've got that strong chin. So you have model good looks, but you have a strong like kind of like a Giga Chad chin, if you will.
That's true. It is strong too. It has taken a lot of punches over the years, so it's.
Has it?
You think I've never pissed anyone off enough to get punched in the face?
I've never gotten punched in the face.
Really?
Oh man!
No, once in elementary school, and I've been in a couple of brawls that I wasn't part of, but I just protected myself. But no, I've never been.
One time, I had 2 black eyes, and I looked like a freaking raccoon because I got like 1-2'd by somebody like in high school. So I had black eyes. But the worst part is when bruises get, they start to heal, they turn yellow. So I just had like a yellow thing going on for like a few days. It was pretty bad. Anyway, back to you, David.
Well, actually, I've been hit. Well, I kickboxed when I was younger. I was hitting it in the face, like doing that. But I will say, I was cold cocked in a bathroom in high school. This kid that I was having an argument with in Homer, and he followed me to the bathroom, and I go to the bathroom, not realizing he's following me, to put my books on a little ledge and then go to do my thing. And I turn around, and all I see is this big old fist with a gold ring. Oh. Bam!
Remember that movie? That reminds me of 3 O'Clock High. Do you remember that movie? That was kind of a random movie from I think 90s or so. It was the whole thing. This kid would spend the whole day trying to avoid getting beat by this bully at the end of the day.
I think it sounds familiar. Yeah, I think it does sound. The story sounds familiar. I'll check it out. All right. So before we bring Rashin on, I do want to mention a couple of our amazing sponsors. And let's start off with Back Office Staffing Solutions. So for many of you, either you're an independent recruiter, sponsors from owners or whatever, but you do a lot of direct placements. You want to start working on the contracting side of the business or temporary staffing, or maybe you're already doing that and you're just not really happy with the company that you're working with, your back office provider. Check out Boss. It's Back Office Staffing Solutions. And if you want to be a boss recruiter or a boss search firm, I know Neil doesn't like that, but I love that. I love that phrase. Check him out. So a couple things on that. If you're doing direct hire placements, you're tired of feast and famine, adding contractor to the mix, 1, it serves your clients better, and 2, provides a lot of recurring revenue. But handling the insurance, W-2, the payroll is horrible. All the insurance requirements. Neil handles the entire thing, front to back, right to left, top to bottom, everything, right? So it's actually one of the best prices you'll find in the business as well. So go to backofficenow.com to check them out and download Neil's new book. You can find that on Amazon, or you can go to backofficenow.com/AI and download it for free. Either way, it's a great book on how to use AI. And in addition, for those who don't know, I run a company called the Digital Headhunter. And I know that right now, with the advent of AI and automation, if you're not doing any of that, you're really falling behind. And so if you are looking to get help getting that set up, I know it's a big task getting a full marketing system set up for yourself. So if you need help with that, we have a done for you option. Go to realdsp.me/build. There's a 12-minute video on there showing you exactly what we build, why it works, and how it works, with plenty of testimonials and case studies. And if you want a free guide, I also have a guide called the AI Proof Recruiter. Go to the digitalheadhunter.com/AI-proof. In fact, I'd recommend downloading Neil's book and downloading mine. All right. With that being said, let's bring on our guest, Rashin. So Rashin, welcome to the show. We'll put you right there in the middle. Cool.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks for being on. It's great to. I just met you not too long ago, or before the show, and got to chatting. And but just for the audience, like, tell us, who are you? What do you do?
Yeah, great. Thank you for having me. My name is Rashin Keller. I own the Keller Group. We are a Phoenix-based staffing firm in Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona. I have been in staffing for far too long, almost 2 decades. I started with a very large, well-known firm and worked all throughout the company, all around different states, opened different offices, and decided when I moved back home to Arizona that it's time to do it for myself. And I was able to really put all the best practices together and create an awesome firm. So super proud of it.
Why are you protecting the name of the company?
I'm not at all. It's gone through so many names. You'll never know who they are anymore. At the time, it was Accounting Principles, Agilon, Parker and Lynch. Now it's LHH.
Hello. Do you know I was the president of Agilon when it was Agilon? Oh, you did know that?
I did, yeah.
Well, that's why you protect.
That's why she wanted to be on the show, Neil. She's like, I got a couple things to talk to you about.
We got to talk about it. No, that's why we like each other. No, this is great. I'm so grateful for that time. I had the best team. I had some phenomenal leaders. Just the pedigree was, everything I needed. So
when were you there?
I started my career in 2010.
I left in 2008.
Now, well, let me ask you.
You left.
So you joined not too long after Neil ran that company into the ground. So what was it like having to try to rebuild from the ashes?
We're on the up. We were on the up after Neil left.
Wow. No, we went. We took it from like 300 million to $1 billion in 6 years.
Let's go. So good.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So now you're an agency. Is it just you, or do you have a team that works underneath you?
It is not just me. I'm so proud of this team. I have roughly 15 executive recruiters on my team.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. So I want to talk about that. That's one of the things that I found, and I've talked about this many times throughout the show, and I think it's always a valuable topic because everybody has kind of different perspectives on it. But let's start there. I mean, building a team. One of the jokes about recruiters is that, or one of the great ironies is that as recruiters, we're very good recruiters, but we're the worst recruiters for our own business. So there's such high turnover, and yeah, I mean, it's just and I think it's because headhunters and recruiters, we're kind of like gunslingers and we're sales, but you know what I mean? We're not, and it's hard to kind of switch mental tracks to like operations and management. But so I'm curious, how did you, it's kind of a broad question, but how did you do it? Like, how did you fix that? Because that's a tough nut to crack in my experience.
You're right. And there's never just a forever calm, right? So I've been so lucky. It's been very incremental. So when I started the Keller Group, I needed to prove viability in the concept here in Phoenix. This was a new market for me. I walked in with 0 contacts, 0 leads, 0 candidates, 0. I was in the Midwest for my whole career. And so though being born and raised here, I didn't have that professional network any longer. And so I had to start it from the ground up. And so I hustled for a year and proved that it works and I can do it. And so I brought in one player at a time. It was truly every time we hit a certain threshold, we knew it was time to bring on somebody else. It was never too much all at once. I got really lucky with her name is Dana. She and I worked together for just a small overlap at what was Paladin at the time under the, Adecco umbrella. And her and I worked together for 3 weeks, and she was willing to come after the concept proved itself. And she is my right hand. She runs up an entire vertical on her own. So grateful to have such a strong leader in place there. And then on my right-hand side, I'm so lucky to have a recruiting director. Her name is Liz, and she is absolutely my right hand. So to find 2 people that are pillars to me and allow me to focus on operations, really, I believe, is the algorithm to being able to grow incrementally. But otherwise, if you don't have that support, it's awful.
Yeah, well, because you can't be managing 15 producers. Like, that would be insane. Like, you need some people that can, like, frontline, triage a lot of stuff. Let me ask you, like, there's kind of, I usually see two schools of thought on recruiters growing their teams, and I've done both, where it's rookies that grow your own, or not full-blown rookies, sometimes kind of like, like they hire in B2B sales, or like they hire right into like tech systems or whatever, or like going for like the experienced recruiter. Like, when you were growing out that team, like what's been your strategy? Like, who do you typically go after?
Okay, great question, Chris, because so Liz and Dana, my pillars, they had industry experience. So I was so grateful to have that, that backbone to build on. However, thereafter, almost everybody else had zero recruiting experience.
Okay, but you had those two to lean on to train them. So it's not like you had to do, okay, that's a good blended strategy. Okay.
Yeah, it was very much blended. What I've realized what works for me is finding somebody that is driven, competitive, collaborative with the team, and the rest we can train on and we can educate. I will say, though, it's a double-edged sword. You get so much more when somebody has a little bit of knowledge out of the gate faster. But if you have the time and you are able to pour into somebody based on the right personality, that is always my preference. It's just we don't always have the time.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like I remember hiring, like, I'd have 3 or 4 complete rookies, and then the challenge was, I couldn't really make them that successful because there's only so much of me to go around, right? Exactly. But then I reached a point where there was one recruiter I had who was with me for a few years, who kind of shifted him into like a senior recruiter role, and then would kind of, once he was able to start mentoring some of them, it was easier. But like, if you didn't have those pieces in place, it'd probably be very challenging.
Right. Yeah, there's never enough of Chris to go around. Everybody wants a piece of him, but that's for different reasons.
But people.
Sorry, Neil.
Are you all local, or do you hire people throughout the country virtually? How you set up now?
That's a great question. We are all local, though we don't have an office. We're all virtual, but it is mandatory for me that you are in Phoenix, because we do get together. It is, yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
We get together. We have such great collaboration. Our dynamics are just better than I've ever worked in, but that's because we have to build it, and you can't do that virtually. So we get together, we'll do retreats, we'll do happy hours. All that is very surface level. We just really care about one another, but it takes time, and to grow that, I believe you have to be in person.
Now, I will say this, and one quick point I want to make about having the first 1 or 2 people that are kind of your core group to help you expand out. I don't know if you guys remember this video. It was a really famous video many years ago, but it was a video of a guy at a festival. This guy's dancing really weird, and in the video, it's like maybe a 30-second video, and it shows how this guy's dancing really crazy and weird, and there's people sitting on the lawn kind of watching this festival, and no one's really paying much mind, and then somebody else runs up and starts dancing really weird, and then a third person starts dancing really weird, and then more people come, and it become like everybody just comes in, and they also like almost like a dance party. And the narrator is talking about how movements are started. It's not necessarily the first guy doing it. It's the second and the third, and the people that come in, that other people say, oh, this is okay to follow. Now it's not weird. Now it's actually cool. And it's that second, third, fourth followers that actually are the key to the movement. So it's really interesting video. What I'll do is I'll try to find the link to the video and post it in the comments when we go live. But it's like a 30-second video, but it's fun one.
There's some psychology to that, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Well, all right. So with that said, I do want to ask you about something else. I did some research on you, and one of the things I found that you have, I think you called it your fingerprint philosophy. If I remember correctly, basically putting your fingerprint or not being like numbers driven, I think is how I saw it, right? Not necessarily be numbers driven necessarily. You want to put your fingerprint on things, if I remember correctly, right? Talk just about that, because I know in recruiting, so many people are more numbers driven. So I like to actually dive into that, like as far as your philosophy in terms of recruiting, maybe your philosophy in terms of, like, say, client management. Like how do you
Yeah, yeah.
keep your clients happy?
Man,
Like,
I feel like this will be a bit polarizing to some, because when I started, well, I have to take you back a little bit. So when I was with Agilon Accounting Principals, Parker and Lynch, I had to relocate a few times for my husband's schooling. He was in med school at the time. And if you know anything about med school, you don't get a choice. You go where you get in. And I was very successful with two amazing partners in Cleveland, Ohio, which is so bizarre, an Arizona girl in Ohio, starting in recruiting. And we crushed it. We all made President's Club our first year, and we're all driven. And then my husband tells me we're moving to Columbus. And so I get to Columbus. I have no contacts, no leads, and I've never sold before. And they're like, well, if you want a job with this company, you're going to have to find a way to make it work. And, everything is so metric driven. Everything was about numbers. Everything was about getting dollars on the board and showing that you could do something. And oftentimes I felt like I was just doing things to get those metrics hit and to get dollars to show that this is a sustainable location. That location is still around. It's thriving. I had to leave it after a year, and I went to Grand Rapids, Michigan. I had to do the same thing. Hey, if you want to work for this company, you have to start no contacts, no leads. That's the only way you can work here. Got that office up and running. It is thriving. It's still around. So when I came to Arizona, I was like, look, listen, I got to understand the Midwest, and I felt that the Midwest was so very much relational. They're a slower pace. Phoenix, believe it or not, is very fast paced. And so when I worked in our Phoenix office for just 3 weeks, I was very pregnant at the time, so I knew it was only going to be a short stint. But what I captured was, it's all about numbers. It's all about metrics. It's all about KPI. And so I knew what I learned from the Midwest was to slow down and to care about people. And not only that, my background is in nonprofit business. I graduated from ASU with a very unique degree with an emphasis in nonprofit leadership. And so I wanted to take for the go Sun Devils. What I care about it. What I really care about and what I think has made me successful is caring about people. I know that sounds so cheesy. I'm sorry. I hear myself say it, but it is absolutely the core of who I am. I've always looked at recruiting as bettering somebody's fortune and being able to present them something that they may have not been able to attain without our vehicle, without our assistance. And so when I got to open the Keller Group, I got to take all the things I love, which is relationships, caring about people, and really be intentional. And that is why my approach has always been, the candidate holds all of our answers. You just got to give them time. You got to develop your relationship with them. You got to invest in those relationships, not just the people that are sexy and that are for sure going to make you money. There's a lot of information, a lot of leads, a lot of referrals you can get from candidates that may not be A+++. And so when I started and needed to prove this concept, I realized if I just take time to listen to what people are telling me about Arizona market or Grand Rapids or Columbus, all these cities I didn't know, but I learned about all these cities and who was hiring, God bless you, all through people, all through my candidates. And so I am not numbers driven at all. I do believe in a skeleton, in a framework, especially for my newer recruiters. There are parameters that I ask everybody to work within, but it is truly more about finding quality. Bless you.
Thank you. So you're at such a great sweet spot now, right? I mean, you must be one of the larger boutique firms there. I mean, I know the marketplace pretty well, right? One of the top ones there. Have to be.
We are. Yes,
right?
We are. Thank you. Yes.
And then, well, you're at the point now where you provide so much value with your previous background and what you have now, that you can be very selective. I mean, it's so much, right? You must find it much easier to there's just great value for someone to come and join someone like you, as opposed to all the recruiters that are one-off that want to bring in a partner, those millions of positions. That's great.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Now I will say, real quick. So I went to Arizona State, 93, 97. I was a plastic major. Actually, had a lot of good times in Manzanita Hall. Is that still?
She's still around. She's decrepit, but she's standing.
That was like I don't know if it still is now, but I know at the time it was like the freshman dorm. And that was some good time, man. Anyway, Forkham Devils.
Okay.
All right, anyway.
Pizza peppers.
What'd you say?
Peter Piper
pizza. God, sorry. With you being from Phoenix brings back a lot of memories. I moved in 2000 to Tampa. So I'm in Tampa for basically half my life. I'm 50, but yeah, I grew up in Arizona, in Glendale, and I have a lot of fond memories of Phoenix. Now, from understanding, you work just Phoenix market, so you limit yourself to just like the Phoenix metro, right? You don't do national recruiting. You're just local. Is that right?
I would say you're right. Yes. Although we work with a lot of PE-backed companies or a lot of nationwide companies. And so therefore, if a relationship is established and they need our help with their subsidiaries or another sister location, we will absolutely get out of Phoenix to help them, but we do not go seek business elsewhere.
I gotcha.
We got a pretty good grasp here.
Yeah, I learned from Jeff K. Back when I first started search, I always thought you had a niche. You might work like a national niche or whatever. But Jeff, he talked about his. I don't know if you ever heard it, but it's Phil, function, industry, location, level, and you can actually have a broader industry like accounting and finance, but be just in Phoenix or just in one city, and that is the niche. So you don't have to. You don't necessarily have to be national. You can have a very broad niche in one location, or a very narrow niche in a broad location. Right? Not one size fits all. I'm curious. Do you find having just being local like that, or recruiting folks in local, is that? I mean, I have to imagine it's an advantage to you.
Of course, right? Yeah, absolutely. I can't speak more highly to working within one specific pocket. We are able to recycle our candidates. If they're not a fit over here, they're absolutely a fit over here. And then
plus you get sorry.
Oh no, please go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, plus you get to know the companies and landscape very intimately. Like in my market, I've been like the couple hour radius I work in the last 20 years. Like you get to know like who was where and what companies are good and what companies are bad, and at people's histories and who used to own it and now somebody else. Like there's a lot of advantages to that knowledge.
Absolutely, right?
Plus, actually going in to seeing your clients face to face, you have lunches or whatnot. That was one of the things that I always felt I missed out on having worked in a national niche. Is that I would eventually once in a while I go fly to see a client, but it was really rare because I really don't care to fly. But being local, I'd imagine being able to go see your clients, bring donuts, do lunch, things like that. It builds that relationship. I had a buddy of mine. He's in the sales space, and he worked with SAP. So actually, I met him through SAP because SAP was my niche. But he worked on the sales side in SAP, where he would sell these big multi-million-dollar projects. And what he would do, or his rule was, he talked about, and I actually teach this rule to my coaching clients because it's really a great rule. 7-hour rule. The 7-hour rule for him was just basically, he's like, I got to clock 7 hours with a client or a prospect, lunch, dinner, golf, drinks, whatever, on the phone, anything I can do to clock my 7 hours. If I get 7 hours in, they kind of pass that threshold to become more like a friend. And he called it getting his get out of jail free card, right? Because you get a lot more leeway. You get first crack at bids. You get overall the relationship is much better. But
right,
for him, it always get 7 hours. That was his rule, 7 hours.
Okay. Well, just to complement what Chris said, I think a big part of our job is to add value. And a lot of recruiters would imagine adding value is closing a deal or getting somebody a job. But I think adding value can also be helping a candidate through an interview process that's not ours, but knowing so much about the Phoenix market and being able to educate them on where else they're interviewing. For example, I had a very strong candidate, VP of finance. He told me he was interviewing somewhere for a very high level role and was so pumped about it. And all I said to him was, hey, just go in, with your awareness up and have your questions, be prepared. And, he called me 2 weeks later and just thanked me so much for giving him, not just a recruiter, hey, take this job, it's so great for you, but ask your own questions, make sure this is the right fit for you, do your research, because they were not a great company and they have a lot of turnover, but we know those intimate details because we're in this space day in and day out.
And you know what you're up against.
Value.
You have somebody interviewing, and they're interviewing at this place or that place, and you get to know whose benefits are what and this and that, and you're like kind of can gauge like where you stand. Now let me ask you too, because David was talking about being able to go meet with the clients, et cetera, right? You've got 15 recruiters, you've got a couple of like key leaders, and then you've got other folks that you develop. How do you distribute the work? Are you kind of the tip of the spear? Are you mostly the one out there doing those meetings, doing the business development and like feeding them? Or do some of them work both sides of a desk? Or how do you structure things?
That's a great question. Originally, I would say I was the tip of the spear. It was a lot of my clients and dissemination of job orders. Not any longer. I would say majority of people like to run a split desk. And so they have some of their own clients and they also recruit for the general group of all of our job orders. But just recently, I just brought in a business development specialist only. That's the first time ever that this individual is not going to also be recruiting. But generally, everybody runs a split desk. And I have a very good balance right now. It is not just me at all.
Okay. Which is good, because that can be a lot to feed all those baby birds. Like after you want you to get out there and find some business too. Because there's a lot of recruiters I know that just want to recruit, and like some that I know from split networks and things like that, which is fun. Mm-hmm. But like you got someone on your team who doesn't want to go out and develop their own clients. You're like, listen, I'll pay you.
It's all on you. Yeah. I mean, admittedly, guys, I'll be honest with you. This summer, I went through one of the biggest challenges of my business. And this is me just being honest. So hopefully it lands and can help somebody who's listening. Because if we don't share, how are we ever going to learn or grow or help others? But I had a lot of trust in somebody that I had developed for over 5 years. And I had, handed off a lot of business to this person. And so I could be in more of an operational seat. Chris, you said right out of the gate, how do you do it? It's so hard to actually manage, think forward, think AI, get creative, look into other CRMs, do all these things while you're being in the field, while you're producing. And so the goal was to start to hand off and really step into more operations. And then, completely blindsided after 5 years, lost somebody that I would consider a great colleague and a great asset to the team. And they got a offer that they could not pass up that would change their life from a salary, not a commission perspective, and how to do what's best for them, which ultimately that's what we do for others every day. We want to better their lives. So
that means stealing clients and stuff. I mean, I would imagine.
Well, there's like there's a non-compete, but eventually I don't know what is going to ebb and flow from this new position. Could it happen? Yeah. But I had to take all of that back on. And I mean, all of it. It felt like a dumpster. Yeah, and so that was just this summer. And thankfully we have retained almost everyone in such a better capacity because some people don't like to go on site. I love to go on site. I love to shake hands. I love to see people. But I think you learn a lot of making sure that you have the spread properly. You can't ever be top heavy in any direction, like just one recruiter that crushes it or one business development specialist that crushes it. It's about the spread. So the mindfulness, when the going is good, you're like, we got this. This is rocking. And then the boat tips and you're like, okay, I could have seen that coming. And so I am very much about hiring in a more of a, balanced way moving forward. And you have to learn as a business owner. And I would love to, share that for everyone to make sure that they're mindful of, their team and who is getting more love than others, if you will.
Right. Because it's not that person's fault. They found a better opportunity. you as the owner, us as the owners, like we got to look at our own processes and how we put all our eggs in one basket and how we didn't, distribute responsibilities well enough that we didn't have some kind of backup there in case someone does leave. Like, it's on us.
It's on us. And I'll take full responsibility. So anyways, wanted to share that as we're talking about our team. So if somebody can, have that awareness ahead of time, please take it.
Great.
So let's talk about business development, or I guess it was a bit, but developing the practice, right? Expanding the practice, getting new clients, new candidates, etc. One of the things I noticed in my research review was you were very candidate driven, and how it's, I think the quote was, "This kind of the source of everything," right?
Mm-hmm.
Walk us through that, because one of the things that, and let me preface this if you don't mind. But if you do mind, I'll do it anyway. Just kidding. But kidding. But being a trainer, kind of being in the business, like I get that. Recruiting is in essence easier. You send out 100 recruiting emails with a job that you're recruiting on, you're going to get a much higher response rate than reaching out to clients, because it's just harder. It's harder to get clients, and so recruiters tend to be they think about being client focused, right? And so it's interesting that you have, and I see a lot of value in it, in being candidate focused. And I see a lot of reasons behind that, but I do think it's something that I think a lot of recruiters don't realize how much of an untapped resource their candidates are. So having said that, walk us through your philosophy on being candidate first.
Yeah, absolutely. So it does piggyback off of what I shared earlier with, to get to know the Phoenix market or any market that I was in, I would strictly have conversations by the hundreds. I just wanted to talk to people. And so when you start talking to a lot of people, what happens is you start to incrementally start capturing patterns and trends. This company is hiring, or this side of the city is experiencing growth, or this company has just done massive layoffs. These small tidbits that can seem mundane really do become beautiful stepping stones to get business. And a lot of people would look at a candidate and say, man, easy. This person can turn into a client. Absolutely. Yes. That is one way that a candidate can make you money. But I think it's about probing and being brave enough to ask for leads. And so for me, when I'm talking to somebody that I value, I spend probably 45 minutes with them. But at the very end, I will ask them, and it's not really a question, it's more assumptive. Who else are you working with? Not, are you working with anyone else? It's, who are you working with? What other firms are you working with? And where else are you actively interviewing with them? Not are you, but who and where. And when you approach anything with confidence, first of all, that is really the cornerstone to everything. Confidence of, I know I can do right by you. I know I can add value, whether it's finding you a job or adding, any sort of value to your job search with or without me. But I am here to advocate for you. So in order to do that, let's talk. Where have you been interviewing? Who else are you working with? I'm not here to duplicate any efforts, but I am going to advocate for you to the clients I do have. And so when you speak with assertion and confidence,
and it's not the first thing you ask them either, too.
No, right.
So there's a reason for them to answer your question. They're a little more invested versus some people just jump right to that.
And it's building rapport. But I call it report, by the way, not rapport. It's I don't. It's the French pronunciation.
This is a big part of the training that I installed as part of my curriculum at Agilon, and so few recruiters do it. I mean, I would go out and I'd hit all the branches. I'd watch everyone on the phone. I was very hands-on, and as intuitive as it is, as smart as it is to do everything for your business, to know what's going on in the market, the leads, they don't do it. We have to force leads. Yeah. We have to force people doing it. That's amazing.
Well, I think the problem is, at least the way I see it, is that it's can the business become transactional? Like, I remember when I first got training, like I was in staff since 97, but I started search in 2000 with MRI. The training I got was basically get on the phone, and talk with as many people as you can, and opportunities will come up if you probe. And we're given a list of like, okay, every conversation you have, here's a list of priorities. One, get an interview. 2, get a job order. 3, recruit a candidate. 4, and then in there is like get leads. And for me, I would ask those same things, but I would what I found was really effective is you'd ask it and then you shut up and leave an uncomfortable silence, because a lot of people, they don't have confidence. They ask and then they keep talking. Ask, shut up, and then a lot of times there'll be a pause, and then they go fill the silence and they tell you who it is. You know what I mean? And so I think I think it's a lost art, because nowadays recruiters have access to LinkedIn and easy candidates and easy emails and mails. And so I'm curious, do you feel that it's been hard to instill in your people? Because I think there's so much access to all this transactional stuff out there. It's really hard to get people to actually take the time to talk. You know what I mean? And develop that rapport.
I bet you I know the answer to that. It's going to be no, because they follow your lead.
Well, it's like the dancing video. Right? It's the dancing video, right? Like, yes, I am out there. I'm doing that crazy dance. But I think, again, the proof is in the pudding, right? So my team knows that there was no firm without these things happening, these questions being asked. But also, David, I feel like it's such the old 97 mindset of ask all these probing questions and stop. But when you're truly wanting to advocate for somebody and want to align with them and work with them, because we're not metrics based, we're not forced to have X amount of conversations a week in order to check a box. We're having really good conversations with people because we believe we can help them. It really just becomes this beautiful, natural flow. But yes, I think ultimately for individuals on my team and elsewhere who are more prone to be on the recruiting side versus the business development side, this question feels like sales. This is a sales-based question, right? It doesn't feel conversational to them. It doesn't feel natural to them. It stretches somebody's comfortability. And so I tell my team, you have to be uncomfortable, and that is okay. And then soon you're going to get used to that feeling. But I do think it's the one question people shy from when they're not used to being bold and putting themselves out there on the sales front.
Well, and I think that like when people, I know sometimes it's tough for a recruiter to wrap their head around taking this approach of gathering market intel from candidates, like you've talked about, Neil's talked about, right? And I know from doing it in my kind of like regional market for years, like I get a lot of value from that. I think that probably some recruiters maybe try that and then they don't experience any benefit from it, and it might be because a lot of them are very scattered, right? Like if you have to have some kind of a focus. Like you have more or less a market-based focus. I have more or less a market-based focus. If you're like Rich Rosen, you're national, but you have a very specific focus. You hire salespeople for startup companies, et cetera, right? And any one of those definable, if that's a word, like focus areas, then you could reap the benefits of that. But if you're kind of scattershot, sending 10,000 emails and you're working on this in this state and that on that state, and those candidate conversations are not going to have any value for you other than transactional. You're
absolutely right.
Well, I think what people need to remember is that, our jobs at the end of the day is to be a connector of peoples. Right. I mean, and that's how if you approach that philosophy, be a connector, build rapport, and then be a connector of people. It's easier in a local market, but when you have that mindset, then it gets a lot easier to ask those questions. And obviously being comfortable with being uncomfortable, and then you get some success with it. Then you start to enjoy it, and you start liking pushing those boundaries a little bit. But at the end of the day, this is the way I look at it: is it's all in service of being a connector.
Yeah, but you
did SAP because you were nationwide, but you were SAP, so there was still a focus, right?
You're still focused. Well, even with SAP, I did a lot of it was national, but I did a lot of my business in that price New Jersey, New York area, so I was able to kind of, in a way, have that local sort of feeling because there's a lot like there. That was probably 70% of my business was in that little tri-state area, so it helped. But
taking a quick step back from a lot of these podcasts that we've had. What we haven't heard today is AI, ChatGPT, cold calling, email list, technology stack. It's what you're talking about now worked 20 years ago, amazingly. And we keep saying back to the old stuff. And you're
really
doing that. Just that.
Principles are the same.
So one thing about all the current buzzwords, you don't need to. Not that you're not using it, or I'm sure you have a tech stack, but that's not the point.
Oh,
we lost you.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Oh no, yeah, we just lost you right on that. Yeah. Uh-oh. Nope, still don't hear you.
No, can't hear you.
Check the under the mute button at the bottom. Just check your settings there. Click on that arrow.
What about now? Can you guys hear
Oh,
me
there
now?
it is.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Hey.
My headphones must have gone. Yeah, I do believe a tech stack is a complement to all the other hard work that still needs to happen.
The real stuff. The real stuff.
The real stuff.
Well, it's only good if it leads you to conversations. All right. I think, and here's the thing. Here it's kind of a sweet spot. I see a lot of the rookies out there, or the newbies, the noobs. The young folks. That are all, they don't want to talk to anybody on the phone. It's all email. It's all LinkedIn. And then you've got the old dogs out there that it's all phone, and they do not believe in anything automation. I think there's that sweet spot where you automate some things. If it's in service getting on the phones, I think that's like, if you have an email automation, for example, make some cold calls with it, like combine it, right? And I think that's where, so as long as you're doing it in service of being on the phone and building relationships, that's kind of the key. But you have to use it right. And I think there's that sweet spot there that a lot of people miss. It's either one or the other, and it's kind of like work was a work smart, not work hard. I'm like, why not do both? Why not? Like, you make it even better. It's not a binary choice, in my view. But well, let me ask you. Let me switch gears a little bit. So you're in the trenches, as it were, right? Actually, you're in the trenches, but you're still like leading the team. So you're kind of in that really interesting spot where you're still in the trenches, but you have to have like a broad view, because you also have to look out for or think about your people and their future career. So being in that spot you're in right now, where do you see the industry going over the next year? Because it's kind of tumultuous. A lot of people out there are a little nervous about the economy. Some people are very positive or negative. What are your feelings on it?
Can I just ask you to step back too? Where has it been? I'm guessing it hasn't been as tumultuous for you. I bet you it's been very consistent and a good year.
Thank you. It has
been.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And so I am very fortunate to be part of a Phoenix community of staffing firm owners. And somebody threw out this question just last week, and the answers varied from high to low. Some people are having the hardest year. Some people are having the best year. I think, David, I think people who get really caught up in just trying to chase all the new, the tech stacks, what AI could do for them, maybe shortcut mindset. Is there a shortcut? I think those people are going to get lost really fast. I'm going to stay steady. But again, you have to have your North Star. Our North Star is not to be the Robert Half or the Agilon. Bless them. That is not me. We are going to be your thoughtful partner. And our fill rate is incredibly impressive. Our turnover rate is incredibly impressive. And our return client rate is beyond. So you're obviously doing something right. I'm not here to capture it all. And I think those tech stacks and the AI technology are those low-hanging fruit, volume. So you have to understand who you are and what is important to you and your firm. And for me, it's that repeat business. It's that, shoot, I haven't done one thing for business development, but my clients continuously surprise me and call me back and call me again. And I'm like, wow, you just put in the work and you do right by somebody, not through AI or anything fancy, but because you hustle for them, they will always come back. But that takes grit. That's not technology.
So what you're saying then, just to make sure I encapsulate this correctly. So really it's a matter of one, building a great candidate base, talking to as many people as you can, building relationships, being altruistic because karma is a thing. So, making sure you're paying attention to karma and giving her what she needs so she gives back to you. But building relationships with candidates and clients and not relying too much on AI text necessarily. Other doing that helped, but really focus on, again, quality relationships. Right? That's your North Star.
Please don't get me wrong. If I could recommend anything, and I know everybody uses it already, is a tool similar to MetaView. Something like that, that complements, again, anything that is AI that complements effort. So MetaView, it listens in on our calls and then it summarizes it, which used to take all of us so much time. But it's a complement to something hard. Right? You still put in the work and this benefits you on the back end. So yeah, I really believe in still putting in that hard work, but maybe using a fancy partner to help accelerate it.
You still have to execute. You still have to get the job done.
You still have to get the job. Yeah.
Well, it's like I always say, cold calls are good for the soul. And they really are. They're good. They keep it.
They're good for the ego.
It keeps you honest, right? Because you could be in your bubble, sending out emails all day long, and never really get. You don't get punched in the nose by the real world. It's always best to go out there in the real world, get punched in the nose, and then eventually you don't mind that anymore. It's like it's like when you're dating, when you're a young man, go out and talk to people. And get rejected, you're going to get embarrassed, but get in the real world. And what you'll find that eventually you become comfortable in the world. And then when you're comfortable in that world, you attract good energy. And I think the same way goes in recruiting. You cold call, get rejected, have weird conversations, ask questions you're uncomfortable asking. And
that's the iron sharpening iron right there. That's the resistance that builds strength.
All those people out there that are the big billers, that are titans in the industry, the Rich Rosens and you, and all those people that are really big billers, and people always wonder, like, how do they do it? They were once a rookie, their first day in the business, scared to make that first cold call, but they did it over and over and over and over and over, and now many of them are millionaires. It ain't that hard, it's pretty simple. You just got to have the grit to do it. That's why I say it's good for the soul. Good for the soul.
Love that.
And I would say, when I was president of Agilon, it pained me to see someone like you leave and do what you're doing. And it's a shame for them that they can't retain that type of person. But it's that MO that you were talking about. It's about the numbers. It's about the stock price. It's about a deco.
It's
not about the real business. And so, impressive, really. I know you're a total MO, and a lot of people that have tried what you've done and haven't done it. So bravo.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
All right. Well, we'll start wrapping things up here. Rashin, so let's do this. First off, great convo. We'd love to have you on again. And for anybody who wants to connect, go to LinkedIn. It's the end slug is going to be Rashin Keller. So LinkedIn.com, all that /Rashin Keller. And I forgot to put your website up on here. It's Keller Group.
Staffing.com. KellerGroupStaffing.com. You can find it on LinkedIn.
Okay, KellerGroupStaffing.com. All right. So, any final thoughts on any final tips or thoughts to tell the recruiters watching this now that might be a little bit nervous about the coming year? Any thoughts that you have for them?
Yes, I do. I do have something I'd love to leave everyone with, and that is to grab a mentor. Grab a mentor wherever you can. I have a mentor, and I actually just got a good friend of mine who has 20 years in the industry out of New York. She's such a badass. I had her come in and do a series of trainings for my team. So constantly continue to educate yourself, have these conversations with experts in the field, and, don't be stuck in one way that you think is right. Be open to new experiences and to hearing from others who have been successful. And so I think that just having somebody pour into you and pour into your team that may not be you, sometimes we're so cocky. We're the ones that have done it. But the team can be a little bit numb to hearing you say something over and over. And so don't ever stop pouring into your team. And one way you could do that is by bringing in phenomenal talent that can continue to educate them.
Yeah, well,
anyone in the Phoenix, Arizona area, you have the LinkedIn, refer away. You'll be doing them a favor, as you can tell. So, and I know tons of people too. And next time you have a hire, so don't be shy.
Yeah, and you're right. And you're right. Building the team, bringing in people, because like attracts like, right? And if you're like athletes, want to be on competitive teams. They don't want to be on the losing team. They want to be on championship level teams. So the better players you get, attract more players. So yeah, it's kind of a snowball effect for sure.
100%.
All right, Rashin. Well, thank you very much for being on. It was a pleasure. Fantastic. Good to speak to an ex-ASU alum just like me, and talk about Phoenix a little bit before the show. So yeah, great to have you on, and we'll have you on.
It was so nice to meet you all. I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
And lastly, for those watching, if you're watching live, comment live. If you're watching the replay, comment replay. Make sure you share the show with your friends. If everybody watching the show shared, it would be huge. Like it, love it, and or hate it, whatever. We just want your emotion for the algorithm. All right. Thank you, everybody.